Good. I just sent it out. Everyone let me know.
It's the same document that you sent me.
Yes.
Okay, whatever.
Good. Is everyone good?
The United States Constitution introduces military presence in Israel. The standard is consistency with canonic act, utilitarianism, pamphleteer, are intrinsically viable and reason for action in and of themselves legal. It uses special fantasy we feel, and volunteers are a reason for action can say someone had reason not to handle and so not possible someone never motives to do anything so but once we cannot withhold such a validation, no objective view could overrule authority, no intent, force, distinction for states in opposite foreseen consequences, what it is, relatively arbitrary, intrinsic, moral significance, consideration, very weighty to say action will, precisely undertaken, not hide behind any foreseen distinction, governance, official, relation to pursuits, interests, and family life, no reason to something like individual distinction, outweighs the infinite, the flow for all the process of explaining the painfulness and the entire outweighs the risk wrong, we went under there for employees, everyone's self-determination, every ethical theory is controlled by a distorted subject ontologically, which makes reaching the end goal of ethics impossible. Their offenses ontological theory makes sure they agree with the premise. They've also suffered by discriminating outweighs now. Advantage one is moral hazard, increased military presence in Israel's influence, Israel loss and escalation, and undermines a global alliance network. You see to Twitter, 19 Washington is when obviously the Middle East restore, representing particle, is relatively limited role, but the US makes way more than alliances and conditional allies behavior, ability to control escalation, cause capacity, restrain the part of the US to determine a relationship, refer reliable security, version, face moral hazard, ally confidence, and you're expecting will to pay for recklessly, whereas everyone can Washington was in their allies and Washington University, the most outside support of US is utilizing the US interest not to tell we prevent political affairs. Great disadvantages politically alliance to serve US interests better. Statistics prove military presence undermines cooperation by reverse leverage so that they don't use military presence unless they're classified by the US and the US is on way to punish them. This paper systematic investigation prevent existing literature theoretical models are somewhat accurate in all states backing Israel increases tax and anti-American sentiment across the region. Military interpretation here's the use of portrays of one now on the back or US versus no Harris have targets on their back. Official statements prove our presence in Israel is the root cause of attacks globally. As our 23 US years attacks multi-citizen assaults are in response to for Israel and Gaza due to Hamas conflicts in turn to target regional attacks. Force the US to retaliate militarily, which escalates to drill 23 war again, and also the US in the war escalated events with personal and American personnel, referencing the conduct hostilities to have prospect of significant accession has some troops to the region. US will hesitate to act. Entrapment and moral hazard our existential critics are from the Cold War, also issues for the nation, unless it's a civil war. Otherwise, no reason to allies, no reason to security guarantees for civil interpret whenever US significant security cities interpret not either war to take a state takes a step for civil manifestation. We covered cameras to measure all forms of likely interpreting competence from the Cold War, and both allies and adversaries have condemned Israel. US action is key message 23. US isolated on Israel.
Okay, I sent out the wrong version of the doc, but it's just two cards I'm skipping, so same version as the one I say. Sorry, I'll continue. Ceasefire 153 goes foreign, Canada, China, Egypt, France, Iran, Russia, Canada, Philippines, Russia, Saudi Africa, Syria, Turkey. Ceasefires only maintain cyclical crisis, absolute reductions in present assignment. Turkey attacks are terrible. No idea of how safe we say, I don't understand clear and history war reinforced by what happened in Israel and North Syria. But as I can say that no press would be a positive into returns as politics would be normal, such a more cycles of history. Turning to condition military aid and human rights statutes only increases escalation and attacks in US troops. It will not comply with the US, but the US will refuse to acknowledge the violations of the condition but prefers rule analysis of predicate. 23 promoting localized with law enforcement, not enough campaign. Ensure compliance with more suffering and accession and involve the use. The only way to address this is finding a way out. Public safety had long sitting. Practice someone acknowledge critical allegations of violations of human rights in Israel. That your conversations under Leahy Market, Leahy now, administrative regional splitting US homeland is a critical internally with planned cap, square power, escalation, locus. Part of the US project is a program to war run. Air such as on US to attack the coverage 100% expression once it run from Russia. Coming from a war hall, running fall versus on Super China. Opportunity line within the US. NATO Russia tendered and run into nuclear reality, incur or survival, independently continued presence, lost in existential terrorism, because between class of terrorists, Russia, the Middle East, predominantly terror depends on how long less remember, so opportunities of war trafficking, service, and fortune, centers, and capital on his wall. So, there's US orders for attacks abroad, domestically, Syria, Iraq, they have recognized the has used assassinations from Muslim allies for that hours, for recruits, increased dramatically intensified violence. US presence multiplies regional instability and anti-American sentiment, walls from 20 source appeals, and terrorists attacking troops with force withdrawal, and presence that is evident in the Democratic comprehensive analysis of US presence increases terrorism by 1,900% draw up to investigate the comparative race. Congressional levels number to terror attacks about 1,900% in the country's US and others saw 42% and extinction of global staging was from nuclear series 26 from letters for regional community and nuclear attack one can call bomb cause unprecedented catastrophe total measurement for radiation worldwide and consequences worldwide security government politics and certain times increase of plastic crisis companies nuclear orders affect the sun and nuclear
turns, and a few assurances which all solves already builds of aggression turns. It's a completely non-common way to theory as well. Jordan Hubert said it has by one of the US military forcing people to result in her by expanding which is that of potential race with miscommunication between military hardware personality people. The US women's sense of also protection from the essential race for another additional person related to her. The next people person increases in this one. And finally, you see Washington as a co-conspirator in Israel's campaign rational continuing military buildup and escalation. Presence is specifically caused by presence in Israel. Buildup is specifically caused by presence in Israel. Marlowe with the Iran, one friends with the US of support Israel use by 100% with Israel totally Hezbollah. Internal documents and historical precedent demonstrate Iran's defensive real observations only exist in the world besides now, and US military presence Martin 23. Since Psalms would have a topic define its message opposite the US would have represented the biggest of all, but these would be portable place around reject all nomination for US military presence as a way to run relation US for use of the one of the longest US for spread financial assistance around when US are considered to prevent the opposite US military force around 100 more of US forces around to the attack with the present target bases around objective defense and military presence is structurally incapable of deterrence while trying to do kind of sources feeding us to behavior study says otherwise you'll be able to teach if the philosophy of war right being aggressive management part of the be occupied and something to in that case of course agent of place wars and wise being operated with how you wish to be sound so as if people to consent war in Afghanistan and Iraq would have a nuclear for all reaction lesson even for believe the Hamas if knowledge check study or circumcision for harm or not Ukraine Yemen Ethiopia will be total history norms today affect on future leaders side to launch war Iran conflict loss and extinction multiple external war 20 times third is multiple countries use more wars something held on earth no channel special situation music for number of bloodshed after retail Iran's counter missiles bomb we have a had in full scale war assumed the United States War 2030 from Iran's threat inflection initiating civil war refugees fuck up pockets give terrorists safe havens now I'll read the things I sent you those the red doc. Military presence has decreased by 85%, but also the Washington in the Middle East 3%, 800% from Asia. Past withdrawals from multiple countries have been including US returning defense including from Saudi, Iraq, White Jordan missiles, aircraft, weapons, Obama and Trump reduced US forces, assurance and inherent spouses, found good cases to straight turn towards 331, peaceful educated violators in the Middle East accountable countries back Israel, and why the Democratic Middle East except reigns. Okay, I'm sending those in like a new doc, sorry.
Okay.
We can start process right now if you want.
I'll wait for the doc.
I think all of those cards are in the doc.
Oh, I sent the right one. I think I just read the wrong. Okay, yeah.
Wait,
They're all there.
Okay. I'll start across then. You didn't read anything. You didn't read bomb and below.
I didn't read the new core constitution. No. I read the. Okay, let me actually open the doc I sent you. I read like the numbers and assurance to trans clubs and stuff. In case it's a straight term.
You read those pieces of evidence?
Yes. The last card though was marked at Middle Eastern exception remains.
Okay, can I just get a marked copy of the cross?
Yeah.
Okay. The plan text, it says that you substantially reduce military presence in Israel. What military presence do you reduce?
We haven't defined military presence.
Or what is held in Israel
What
that can be
is
defined as
held?
military presence? What would the plan remove? Because obviously there's certain aspects of military presence that are that are held in Israel.
The plan removes troops, bases, and arms sales.
Okay. What troops do we have in Israel?
Well, the base we have is Site 512. The troops we have are obviously troops we have deployed since October 7th, as well as the troops we have at the base we have there, and arms sales is probably
Do you have a scenario about base 512 that I'm missing?
I mean, all of our evidence, like the Martini card, says that Iran attacks U.S. bases to force U.S. military withdrawal, which is uniquely escalatory. Also, we have reasons for why unconditionally, quote, terminating the alliance with Israel is necessary to solve entanglement.
Wait, sorry. The first card that you were saying that Iran attacks bases, which one is that?
Martini.
Okay, the Martini evidence. Why is this singular
Quote,
base?
Iran could target military bases at which U.S. forces are deployed.
Okay, the one base, singular base in Israel, 512, why is it unique to Iranian escalation?
Well, we've made arguments for why U.S. support for Israel is the critical and terminally to great power escalation, right? So first, because of the Israel-Hamas war that is escalating now, and second, because Iranian militants have come out and said that the reason they're attacking troops in places like Iraq, Syria, and Yemen is because of U.S. support for Israel, which means that unconditionally reducing that presence is necessary.
Wait. Okay.
Also, the entrapment scenario above, as well, right? The Porter card says the U.S. must, quote, terminate an alliance relationship.
Okay, I'm confused. Why is Israel key to preventing Iranian expansion?
Well, we have read multiple cards that says Iran only attacks because of U.S. support for Israel.
Because of U.S. support for Israel?
Yes.
what piece of evidence do you think says that it's only Israeli support that
Hold on.
motivates
Quote, militant groups have said the assaults are in response to U.S. support for Israel in the war in Gaza. Quote, the Israel-Hamas conflict could spread through the Middle East and turn U.S. troops into targets.
Which piece of evidence is that?
The Azari card, the card before that says that, quote, and Biden and his administration
part of
know
this
as long as
evidence-
they back that war, U.S. forces
What
are
part of
not
this
gonna
evidence
start
makes you
attacks.
think that all conflict is driven not just the conflict in Gaza?
Quote, in response to U.S. support for Israel and Gaza,
Okay.
like really?
Yeah. Mark copy. I'll send out one next to that.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll take prep. Start. Thirty seconds. I'm sending out the document.
Sorry, I'm sending them right, so.
Okay.
Wait, I don't know why. Okay, I just sent it.
Okay. The order is 1, 2, 4 off, and then case in the order of moral hazard and regional stability.
Let me get my flow template open. You said 4 and then moral hazard regional stability.
Correct.
Give me once.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Okay. Is anybody not ready for me to start? First off, military presence refers to the troops' engagement as a distinct term of our foreign attack greeting 1. Specific definitions define overseas presence of military forces. We define engagement in United States military activities designed to enhance security assistant overseas forces both in connected engagement, and it's limited to troops and infrastructure to sustain them. Crawford 3. And specifies overseas presence and the placement of military forces overseas in infrastructure pre-presidential movement and necessary to sustain them. And military presence is basis broad consensus. John 11. Military presence refers to basic peacekeeping and arms sales and either which are the military presence. And every advocate about arms sales is and they said it in cross. You should vote negative for limits and ground. It maximally expands the topic to all weapons and infrastructure, which triples the cases and avoids links to assurance and anti-deterrence. But 2 is predictability. Only evidence says the intent to define and exclude. It's from the Army colonel and senior military fellow. Internal link to ground because the least arbitrary reading of the topic offers the best definition of ground and competing interpretation. TA is substance. Some of all reasonable interpretations is untenable for the negative, and offense defense reduces charge intervention. Next off, military presence is rapidly increasing, which is key to reassure Israel. Schmidt 23. Pentagon doubling American power by the Middle East order of second factor East National Force of a small team special officer subsidies and performance and additional mighty military reassurance units committed to security demonstration results and Hamas and Israel and after cities additional deployments reaffirmed Israel used to support them and Biden's balancing power negotiations to stop Israel from extending its Hamas war into Lebanon that causes massive regional escalation. Lee 1-4. On easy research if you will erupt about the power conflict and constitution tackle head on a regional advice on against Palestinian military regional system or district leaders attack on Houthi rebels. Divided has been easy to consider that has been this either if it is a Gaza official not to be able to strike in Lebanon and Israel confidence in American defense commitments are key. If they think the United States will defend them to go all out to win the war. Vision 10-18. Diplomacy will need to speak in multiple audiences and at least there's a universe responsible to diplomacy can mention the U.S. is serious about its commitment to both of the reason the United States need to work with Israel and Egypt on other activities under tall order speech and defines only diplomacy more than zero, provide the widening of confidence more united the U.S. for more assertive United States is a negative argument because we're out of most assertive when we have presence in the region and the shirts and deterrence don't take this out because it's about other partners. We've already read arguments about Israel and the cause of global nuclear war CPI 10-18. These are some hostile conflict potential wider implications power beyond the Middle East and the region general relations general action against Iran. Hamas provided act in the Middle East for work with the potential hotspot for the war with Iran back in the action Beijing AI trigger global conflict will state open East people up integration with command system growing Israel Hamas tension running high and older. One I see grams are wrong. One I see Bauman is about CENTCOM, not one about the energy control of 2009 will insert in yellow, and two is that one I see Freeman's will all send mixed signals to U.S. allies but reassurance via troop deployments is vital to maintain credibility. Montgomery 21. Afghanistan all this credibility is much better than the case of mixed signal policymakers that intend to mitigate the damage reaffirming existing commitments to assure allies and adversaries deploying military forces and allies front on a question about whether the United States can all accomplish this when he put it to the test. And the reason when he see Curtis as postdated by Schmidt, the evidence that we have read above, which she says in the Pentagon doubled American firepower in the Middle East. Our evidence is zapped. Go to the case page. We'll come back if we have time. First on moral hazard. Israel's war is inevitable but attempts to withdraw and ceasefire further isolate them without United States presence. But this doesn't take out the dissent because we're bolstering presence, but the plan would eliminate that which cross-fly or link evidence that we've read. Jobin et al. 24. Israel preserves power not be solid orders to halt the fighting, dealing its isolation, forced on suitability, and military support, but applying causes regional instability and Israeli isolation. Cooper 22. 21 that consider Israel CENTCOM and IOJQ Israel transfer the CENTCOM to AQ that would consider ice coordinating with Israel if the United States participates unwilling to fulfill the sovereign defense war requirements for Middle East partners and the president will seek for defense gap that China, Russia, the United States will be fully engaged and the president needs to declare and the perception of Israeli isolation goes nuclear. McConnell 17. The greatest step to stability is that terrified of being alone and anticipation of the United States backing away by the Senate and will behave the more considered the Reformation as by the way that refers to interest of panic and Israel attack with 200 nuclear weapons can do a lot of damage to Israel striking out with all the states the Gulf cannot be dismissed. There are many reasons to maintain a special relationship. You have to understand that this is a different implication to the dissent that we read above, which means that it's a unique scenario that we can go in and we could go for either of the two. And our leverage is high and submitted stabilizing down the plan will destroy the most recent evidence. Mount Olive and Ravi 415. Biden take the world's on the war for the Middle East. Didn't immediately retaliate moving forward. The powerful retaliation is doing this on the United States constitution counter-nutrition or not be taken lightly. Is there a reminder how the Washington failed to provide the cooperation between Israel and the United States intelligence and even one of the missile retaliation inevitable. There's a strong reason to be grateful. No reason only shoving the back in however under pressure from the right ring and the moral hazard stuff. There's zero proof of entanglement. Rob Hooper 20. The charming what occurs in the United States intervene and no matter what that no proof that there's no more likely to get involved in conflict in that situation. A little bit I but if you know Vietnam and Iraq no others responsible Washington back his allies and done to begin the nuclear action and should never found itself in the alliance and not able to exist. I say no Washington was able to disentangle easily and we reject risky alliances and solves entanglement. Rob Hooper 20. Entrapment is uncommon, but the United States is designated as a lack of reduced the system exposure to risky commitments. Washington has selected a choice of partners rejecting a request for more commitments to retreat into the United States. The decline of formal guarantee that Israel calculated risk was too high. Moral hazard whose deterrence by demonstrating allied resolve. Benson and all 14. Moral hazard including increased security. The force behind the deterrence and avoiding conflict. Aggressive made a crisis of target is willing to fight back rather than incurring cause of moral hazard made dedicated to deterring aggressive is the laws allies to capture deterrent surplus and Iraq, Trump, Afghanistan, abortion, all of them, human rights. We can go back to that. Iran. Old causes, Pillar 23, Astral isolation of U.S. military presence in the Persian Gulf, not some generic practice reacted to the United States not being begin the latest around to seizing oil for that nation. Obvious incidents as leading to wider warfare, political pressure, but the administration of military escalation, military presence wars against the escalation, attention that there's no risk of Iranian war, heroics 20. Fears are all over, but wars unlikely to escalation, ready to expand the powder case, really explode retaliation is not the same war with this video tape for time from war involving troops of domestic politics, actions rated both the United States and around the wars unpopular, and well likely to help Trump win a election. Trump not saying he wasn't one middle war like around the leader state probably not risk the regime and the costly war to Trump is back away from the sensitive before Trump is seen as an offer from Trump is unlikely to be punished and be thought to be given to the United States more from the war whatever around regime and there's no escalation because of Israel. Actually we'll go down. New terror causes international cooperation, not retaliation. McTominay Store 19. Post-nuclear attack cooperation would be an incident. Nuclear attack would be disrupted to state the dominance and assimilate on part of the cooperation to apprehend the responsible parties to prevent future attacks on state intended to find the actors responsible face with the station and some whole state will know more likely committed to the survival of the terrorist group that causes nuclear appellation movements are late now right maybe 18. Serious nuclear disarmament is waiting for some event to serve all action or goals and to eliminate weapons, demolition or wars about the nuclear about the case involving railroad checks against action against one of his residents hit by a passing train. And you should cross 5 and Melanie Cuba evidence will say that the US makes Israel less aggressive, does not get dragged in, and the known entrapment culture also to prove that we don't care enough about Israel to get embroiled in a conflict. And we've also read evidence that the United States isn't interested in attacking Iran, and you should prefer our evidence on recency.
Alright, are you good?
Yes.
Okay, terrorism good. This is just about a post-nuclear attack. Why does that not also apply to nuclear war or the scenarios that the dissets that you've read?
I'm confused about your question. The
Quote, post-nuclear attack international cooperation would be instant and deep. Why does that not also apply to, like, let's say, you know, Israel using nuclear weapons?
We think that the status quo can probably resolve a nuclear war, but we think that there's many ways to get to it. It avoids the dissent because even if there is a limited nuclear war...
I mean, like, why is this not a double term with the dissent? Like, you said Israel will nuclearly strike some Gulf countries. Like, that seems to also be
our evidence
post-nuclear
is
attack?
specifically about Israel. This seems to be contextual to terrorist organizations. We've specifically on the dissent page made it very clear that we read evidence specific to Israel and their intent.
Okay, on the you didn't read moral hazard boost deterrence, right?
Which evidence?
Benson,
I did.
you did. Okay. The McConnell card, this says, quote, any suspicion that the U.S. is backing away incites Israel to behave more aggressively.
Sorry, where am I looking?
McConnell.
Okay.
Says, quote, any suspicion the U.S. is backing away causes them to behave aggressively. Like, we've condemned them in the past few months. We've withdrawn troops from the region. Like, why does that not come?
Because we're providing aid.
And which card is specific to U.S. aid? It seems to all be about perception.
Well, we think that, one, we have read evidence that answers one of the preempts that you have read on the dissent page that says that it's shaky, but relations are still holding.
Oh, so it is shaky, and your evidence says, quote, any suspicion the U.S. is backing away incites Israeli strikes?
Well, we think that the increase in troops going to there, i.e. the uniqueness evidence.
Okay, I do want to talk about, like, this increase in troops warrant. The card you read on uniqueness on the dissent above says the U.S. has increased presence, like, around Israel. Like, where does it say presence in Israel?
Okay, one, we have a singular base in Israel. Secondly, we can defend the borders of Israel to provide protection.
Wait, you're gonna read this, like, links to, like, countries around, like, quote, U.S. expanding military presence near Israel. What card have you read about presence in Israel?
I'm confused what you think is wrong with the dissent.
Like, near Israel, like, countries outside of Israel, but not in it. The plan only reduces presence in Israel. What is the link?
Okay, we deploy presence in the Middle East. That can reassure Israel because it's not us backing away from it. I'm not sure what you're saying.
Okay, and you said there's a distinction between this Lebanon dissent and the Israeli strikes dissent. What is the distinction?
The one on case is more broad. This one, we think that the Hamas expansion into Lebanon is the internal link to our internal link.
Okay, but to be clear, they both rely on the idea that the U.S. restrains Israel, correct?
Essentially.
Okay. Okay, 5 minutes, and you didn't read a spec, right?
No reason to drop it.
Okay. And sorry, I have one question about the precision. Why does it matter?
It's in the evidence, or not in the evidence. It's on the
And you just read T, the Lebanon dissent, the case, right?
Correct.
Is it conditional? Oh, there's no comment. I did not know what it was.
Okay. You had me confused for a second.
Talk about 239, setting up the dock. Oh, actually, sorry, starting again. Okay, 228. Let me just type it in the doc. Okay, I just sent it.
Okay.
Oh shoot, that was replying to the wrong email. I just sent the doc. I'll get it over once. Okay, the order is the moral hazard advantage, but I'm doing like the line by line and then the term. The regional stability advantage and T arm sales, the Lebanon percent. Okay, does anyone need that again?
Moral hazard in the Israel-Hamas war makes this really strike inevitable. The only terminal effect to this is Middle East war, which is literally happening in this war. We will explicitly concede their argument. Quote, any suspicion causes relegation and expansion into Lebanon, which means that any risk of a double suspicion outweigh no study for strike and any 50 permission makes sense if Iran had completely clear for strike. Israel, this is Windows, irrational, absent any of the house, benefits, how many percent has, what do you say against, nearly equal state zero Iran, large hydro chemical force and missiles, rockets, not specifically planned to enhance into her special level alcohol for Israeli preemption. The official suggested using news and instantly got fired. Williams 23 and he just went over. A cabinet voice over in Israel, they could defend Ali has not based on to be clear, Ali was not speaking on behalf of the government, and they know that if guarantee extinction, which means they'll not do it, but everything on the Lebanon term below will also apply because it's the same internal link now, the line by line proper leverage high is wrong. This says, quote, twisting Israel's arms to an immediate retaliation, which obviously dumps the dissent that the U.S. is attempting to condition aid, and the stabilizing non is currently distributed like, be for real, they just attacked Iran despite the fact that the U.S. told them not to, which means that in this context it does not work. No Israeli escalation is wrong because they are emboldened, and the U.S. security guarantees and no U.S. threat is also wrong because commitment traps guarantee that the U.S. intervenes to save its own credibility. They say we start worse on our own, no, our allies. Entanglement has multiple cases, which is that of skin shifts and evidence. They've dropped that it is a process, not an event. They say we reject our state alliances, obviously disproven by the Israel alliance, and none of their evidence is specific to it, which means the United States must refer our evidence on specificity boost deterrence is wrong, and it obviously disproven by things like Ukraine, where we ally the partners for revisionist powers attacked anyways. Now, the regional stability advantage, no one causes there are multiple pieces of evidence that says that it is caused solely by U.S. support for Israel. They have not read any evidence to the contrary, which means that the attacks in Syria are all caused by us. No, Iran war is wrong. They have dropped, quote, the fall of Iran means the fall of Russia, which guarantees global nuclear extinction. Iranian legitimacy will also inevitably collapse if the U.S. strikes them, which means that the answer is the only one about domestic politics. Yes, miscalc, because it happens in fall before nuclear terror causes cooperation. It's wrong. Debate 101. You cannot go for an impact without impact defense. Drop and collapses global security, governance, self-restraint, as well as nuclear assurance deterrence, which independently blocks the nuclear use and, quote, global escalation. That's our goal. If they win, it causes terror. If they win terror, nuclear attacks cause cooperation that applies equally to their dissents. But disarm and boldness, which Harry's study will only come up with so good at the good and attorneys may harm NATO to read the different generations of rattling, but utilize and pattern based disarm and will encourage refugees to disarm market, disarm, and also the thesis of it is wrong. Jimmy 7 and it has also been nuclear use could be cataclysmic world reform. Now let's have a nuclear sugar arms races and further nuclear use. Now there are only arguments about analytically Iran will not, Israel will not be less aggressive, which will be answered on the dissent below. And if it is true that we do not care about Israel, then Israel will perceive that and means that strikes are totally inevitable. Now the RT arms sales we mean one plant is the most objective evaluations based on different sections. When you see evidence of law reviews, means team people to contextually symbols, 6 month based on compasses, deployments one was resistance intel counter only RF is topical. Also we mean their information. It says pre-position equipment is topical, which which is arms sales counter military presence for basic troops and arms sales alpha series all three from our 9 duty. Hormones present commission has made based by military aid personnel concede limits and grant out ways we link and maintains their interpretation as a floor, but adds another condition of reducing arms sales because we must use all three, which is one is crossing, which is more limiting, and strengthens the stillness by forcing one is to determine the alliance to get pace out of bases troops are arms sales Afghan, Israel, October 7, Turkey, TNWs, as well as Egypt, and makes the reach to arms sales counterplan solve everything functional limits, case assurance turns, other rest reporting links the same, so luminous policy, advocates, check, Hong is not exclusive. It says military presence, quote, typically refers to bases. It's about Chinese operations in Africa, and it's about a specific article. It's below, but it is the floor, not a ceiling, guard is the only terminal attend to it. Now, the Lebanon descent dumpers will be below, but Schmidt is about presence near Israel, which the plane is not removed, inserted their applicable case. And this straight term which also applies to the stuff on case 1, moral hazard is really overconfidence, and American security guarantees molds of pay frequency, which is proven by the current war and loss and escalation. That's quarter to reversal of it. Drop all theoretical models, prove military aid creates, quote, strong assertive clients that were more likely to find the US, and behave aggressively that still went through other nations, strengthening the relative value, and economic ties to military presence in other countries. The tail no is really first strike was answered above, but obviously the Rafah invasion proves that the US cannot prevent expansion, and they'll say no. Christian forces with the Israel war not, and so much as how long it takes by international overseas or waiver great term run, and terminals of numbers Trump reduced presence sanction allies Iraq and Afghanistan done military presence has decreased by 83.5%, and Israel is in CENTCOM, which means the only answer does not matter. We withdrawn from Iraq, Kuwait, and Jordan.
4:30 start. What's the Samuel's evidence, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Is anybody not ready for me to start?
There is a clear violation of our answer, but it's a really easy negative ballot. You should. Well, first, we're gonna answer all of them. All of them we need arguments. First is that they say that they meet contextually, but no counter-interpretation. You should evaluate T through one is the solvency advocates and cross. One is that condo. They basically said Peninsula to your face. It's a moral hazard that forces tuners on T and substance given tuner choice, which is an impossible burden. And two is that it incentivizes vague plans because it undermines pre-run preposition and causes reactive redefinition after the negative has already shown their hand. And three is arbitrariness. Obviously, the violation is reasonable in this instance because their entire app is about arms sales. And four is that our interpretation solves arbitrariness because it's reasonable because the app is obviously about aid, etc. Five is about private presumption. We may have one secret base in Israel, but they do not have a card, much less an advantage about that you can cross-apply the all-clause arguments that we have read on the case page. Two is that they say that they meet functionally, but there's not a card or a moment in cross-text that clarifies that military presence refers to bases or troops. And they say that they meet contextually, but that is a non-starter because Samuel is completely irrelevant. The interpretation was about troops, not bases. Obviously, it doesn't say basing refers to arms sales. It defines bases as equipment, armed forces, and military facilities. Then it goes on to define four persons as bases, fixed and rotational deployments, agreements, FMS, military training exercises, intel sharing, and military-to-military contracts. We'll insert in yellow. And the kicker is that this card makes limits a crush. Their interpretation explodes the topic because presence could include any of the above examples. They said counter-interpretation only are precise and predictable limits. We can agree that limits don't matter in a vacuum, but every team would all say only RF, which does not provide a baseline for neg preparation and is in fact an egregiously arbitrary standard regarding how pre-tournament neg preparation should be constructed. The next piece of evidence that they read is neg Marin, which said but predictability outweighs. We're gonna do the impact calc here, and we're gonna answer the predictability. Their answers to predictability from the 1AR. The predictability outweighs, and the 1 and C said it, and we're gonna say it again. It turns limits because voting to reject the most predictable intent will create a functioning unlimited topic since the majority of debates occurs through pre-round prep and research, which is configured by the resolution and what limit basis and mandates examine of it, and it exposes the topic to Saudi Arabia, Tunisia, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, and Qatar because we have some bases even though we have limited troop presence and large amounts of aid. And two is that clash is external. Only judging interpretations based on how precise and contextualized they are allows the team to anticipate what to prepare for and what creates debates with clash against well-prepared opponents. It turns AF specifically. You can be certain that endorsing a topic for the sake of limits will leave AF teams praying at the altar for some notion of predictability. Up next, we'll have to start. I'll have to stop the prep every single after this. There's no way to predict what AF teams will wing or read or which way they're going to swing. That materially worsens debates for you to judge because every speech is two ships passing in the night. And remember, arbitrary limits are worse than none because not knowing clear bounds for the topic is equivalent to the topic lacking any restrictions at all. All of this means that you should not vote out because their interpretation is more debatable. If our cards are better, we're going to answer the predictability words. All of them make zero sense. First, we have one that our interpretation is most predictable, which takes out the 8 points. Second is that predictability avoids and controls desirability. That was also done above, and they said that predictability is implausible, but some definitions are more predictable than none. We should aim for the most precise reading of the resolution, even if it's not 100%. And you should also evaluate these sorts of things on the truth level to a higher extent because debates can technically resolve T, but on a truth level, there's always going to be some violations, and topic explosions are always going to happen, which means that you should negate to resolve these impacts in the long term. And also, their counter-interpretation does not say that it's all three of the things that they've outlined above. It says they can be bases, aid, active personnel, or soldiers in combat theater. Thus, their interpretation is not supported by a single piece of evidence. So if we win that position, it's at least important in some roads, i.e. 1% to limits or ground. You vote negative. Necroman is also an online communication assistant at the AAI and it pales in comparison to our military planners. We're gonna also we're gonna reread Necroman or USU's engaged in combat theaters, which They say limits and ground, but you should cross-apply predictability outweighs and limits from above. Yes, limits offense are key. Today's card says that it can be bases, aid, or personnel, or combat soldiers. And the 1AR Samuel's evidence that they said on Weeby adds at least 7 more asks. The possible number of permutations suggests that the negative is out of the game before it starts, and because they explode the topic to not only aid, but also combat soldiers, intelligence, and military activities, etc. They said picks, but it does not solve our offense. This app proves they're one base, and we can't pick out arm cells because there's no reason that our one base in Israel, which is site 512 as per stated in cross-6, is necessary for deterrence, assurance, or anything else, i.e. all causes. There'd be no dissent, which means that an educational debate, which means an uneducational debate, because the 1 and 2 would introduce an inherently tiny net benefit, and it's also not, Half ground, the over limiting is good. Broad topics are horrible for debate, mostly forcing the negative to rely on anti-educational strategies like process or framework case. Limited topics provide ample room for innovation and maximize iteration, especially given the breadth of the literature base and negative ground outweighs because military presence is objectively useless. Extra assurance are phenomenal in specificity and recency bias structurally favor the affirmative. They say functional limits, but topical limits are prerequisite. They determine research burdens, and it doesn't solve for offense because limits explanation above proves the asks are written to be assurances and deterrences, and primary generics are like process are terrible for topic education, and deterrence is zero because our arms themselves are not a sufficient deterrence, and solvency advocates are also arbitrary because anyone can find a crackpot on Jacobin magazine, and they say reasonability, but competing interpretations is best. One is that dropped anything else, green lights, highness judge intervention, and the combination of every possible reasonable interpretation, and there's no substance crowded because T is substance, and our offense proves that we needed it to beat this affirmative, and our interpretation is reasonable. That was all above. They didn't have an impact or an internal link to substance crowd until the 2ER is brand new.
Let me check how much time I have left. 228, what was subpoint 4 on tampons and vacuum between like the F is about arm sales and presumption?
Our interpretation resolves arbitrariness.
Why?
It's because the F is about 8.
Is everyone?
Yes.
It's just, let me just erase some.
Okay, is everyone good?
We have straight-turned both of their standards and they've conceded the warrants for both. The tutor is very good on particular matters, but very low on void. Their interpretation asks that they've conceded 3 arguments. 1, you should ask yourself, why does precision matter? The ones you just said, it is important for pre-tutor preparation and clash, which is what our interpretation allows because it forces the app to reduce truth, spaces, and arm sales, which gives them more to say groundly forcing witnesses to determine the lines. Conceded. 2, the pre-tutor prep they talk about is accessed by our interpretation, also conceded. The neg cuts distant links to truth and basis, and the app is truth, spaces, and arm sales, and reducing all 3, then they can still read one presumption valid solve because obviously the pen is big, you can say it, but it gets circumvented. But their interpretation is worse because it incentivizes the app to be more big to score coordinate ground, and cross-links also checks say the app is about arm sales. This relies on not wanting that 1AC solvency advocates that cutting violations from 1AC solvency advocates is a good interpretation, which they simply have not done. They say it solves arbitrariness because the app is about 8. Again, this relies on them winning that plan takes the vacuum is bad model, which they have dropped our offense. No presumption. 1AC crosses was clear that we do have evidence about basis and troops, but it makes us burdened because apps lose on case defense because he becomes a question of solvency, and cross-links and tags are worse. No one flows cross-links is reorganized and independently internalizes abstract units. In short, it would be attack writing now. All the arguments about how Samuel is bad is a non-starter. Samuel is a weak card, not a counter-interpretation, which means that they cannot concede it for limits, but they dropped arm interpretation is more limiting. If the app must be basis, troops, and arms, so then that obviously means it is their interpretation plus another more limiting condition, and they dropped the terminal that ground is low in terminal to predictability, but we're conceding predictably ways because they dropped that their interpretation is simply not that. As for the rehighlight that we inserted below, independently, free-round proper research is encompassed by interpretation, which is about the cases about Saudi, Qatar, and Azerbaijan is a complete joke because we have cases there's anyways, and our definition saying or does not matter because it can also mean and.
Debate.
Debate. Do you want the re-highlight of the 1C evidence? This Young Hong part.
From this speech.
Like the one I covered.
Oh, like it's in the doc.
Yeah, it's in the doc.
Oh, yeah. I already have